My name's Shona Marsh, I'm a silversmith, and I've been working as a silversmith for 9 years now. I graduated from Birmingham School of Jewellery after completing a HMD in Jewellery and Silversmithing, and went self-employed straight away. I specialise in making contemporary silverware that's functional, so lots of tableware, things like cheese boards, jugs, bowls. I work on spec, so I make things that people can buy, and I also work a lot with commission, so working a lot to customers' orders, things that they want specifically, whether it's a certain object or something that has a particular function. I use a lot of different techniques, so some of the techniques I use are traditional silversmithing techniques to create shapes and forms that are soldered together, and I also specialise in inlaying silver into wood that accompanies the silver. Well, I've worked with silver predominantly on the course that I took 9 years ago, but I really like the metal, I like the qualities, it's very malleable, soft metal. It can do a lot of very different things. You can hammer it and form it into really soft shapes. You can solder things together so that it's got edges. You know, again in this jug it's quite a soft shape, but then you have this hard outline that you can get from using a hard metal, which is then juxtaposed with wood that's really warm and soft, and it's quite a giving, tactile material, and the two just merge very nicely. They bring out, you know, the wood brings out a warmth in the silver, and the silver contrasts very nicely with the dark grains of the wood. So some of the current projects I'm working on at the moment, I'm working a lot with found objects, so with recycled Victorian mirrors, for example, and the inlay work that features in lots of other elements of my tableware. So for instance, I started inlaying this particular item here. I sand it all back so the wood's all nice and flat. I then have the pattern that I want to create into the wood is CNC routed into the wood, which then lets me spend the time actually inlaying it really nice. And I use a variety of silver mediums, so a lot of what I use tends to be wire, and it's simply a case of cutting and shaping the wire to fit each segment and then tapping and hammering it in. Once it's all fitted in, I then have to buff and sand it back so it's nice and flat, and then that creates a really lovely tactile finish to the piece. So I generally look around me, so I go visit exhibitions, I look at other work. I find a lot of inspiration in contemporary sort of interior design, whether it be the furniture or the actual sort of smaller elements within a room, the bowls, the jugs. I look a lot on, you know, for nice images, nice strong striking patterns. I'm quite influenced by very simple clean shapes, nothing too fancy, anything that has a really lovely balance to it. But if it speaks to me, if there's something about it that goes, oh, pick me up and touch me, then it's something that I'm likely to be inspired by. And then I then take those, I create mood boards with all the images and objects, and you know, if there's a texture or if there's a wood that I found, you know, it all goes on these mood boards, and then from that I'll start sketching. I spend a lot of time with pen and paper, literally just sketching out ideas and doodles until I start feeling that I've got an idea forming, which I then try and draw out to the right size as much as possible. Once I've done that, I then start working with maquettes. I'll make the piece out of paper or copper. For instance here, I'm looking at a goblet, and I'll start hammering it and pushing it with my, you know, with the tools that I got in the workshop, so that I can get just the right shape by picking it up and seeing it and going, yes, it needs to be more curved, or it needs to be taller or shorter or thinner, which you can sometimes not grasp from pen and paper. Once I'm happy with a 3D model, I then go and buy the silver, and I work in the silver and produce the final object.